The old gallery had been closed 4 decades, left to rot in the quiet outskirts of town. Once a thriving space for artists and collectors, it had become nothing more than a forgotten relic. But when Sophia Clark, an ambitious art curator, received a mysterious invitation to reopen it, she couldn't resist. The gallery's new owner, an eccentric billionaire, Vincent Graves, had acquired the property with a single goal: to showcase a collection of rare and priceless art pieces that the world had never seen before. Among them was a painting that had been lost to history, a painting with a dark and sinister legend attached to it. Sophia arrived at the gallery one stormy evening. The wind howled as she stepped inside, her footsteps echoing in the vast, empty space. The lights flickered on, revealing dusty walls adorned with forgotten masterpieces. But it was the painting at the far end of the room that drew her in, a haunting portrait of a woman with eyes so lifelike they seemed to follow her every move. The painting, simply titled Evangeline, was unlike anything Sophia had ever seen. The woman in the portrait was beautiful, yet there was something unnerving about her expression. Her dark eyes seemed filled with secrets that made the hairs on the back of Sophia's neck stand on end. Sophia stared at the painting for hours, unable to tear her eyes away. As she finally turned to leave for the night, she could have sworn she saw the woman's lips curl into a faint smile. But that was impossible, wasn't it? She shook off the feeling, chalking it up to fatigue, but as she left the gallery, she couldn't help but feel as though she was being watched. The next day, Sophia began researching the origins of the painting. It didn't take long to uncover a chilling story. The woman in the painting, Evangeline, had been a notorious figure in the late 1800s. She was said to have been the wife of a wealthy artist who had painted her portrait shortly before her untimely death. Rumors swirled about her death. Some claimed she had been poisoned by her husband in a fit of jealousy. Others said she had taken her own life after discovering a dark secret. But the most unsettling part of the story was the claim that anyone who owned the painting would be haunted by Evangeline's spirit until they met a tragic end. Sophia laughed off the legend, but a part of her couldn't shake the unease that had settled in her chest. That night, as Sophia was locking up the gallery, she heard something, a soft, almost imperceptible whisper. She paused, her heart pounding, and turned toward the painting of Evangeline. The gallery was empty, but the whisper persisted, growing louder until it was a soft, eerie chant. Sophia froze. She could hear her name. Sophia, come closer. Terrified, she ran out of the gallery, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She didn't return that night. But sleep didn't come easily, and her dreams were plagued by visions of the woman in the painting, her cold, dark eyes staring into Sophia's soul. When Sophia returned to the gallery the next morning, she found a man standing in front of the painting. He was tall, with pale skin and hollow eyes that made him seem if he had stepped out of a nightmare. "Do you believe in curses?" he asked without turning to face her. Sophia stiffened, unsure of how to respond. "Who are you?" The man finally turned. "I've been studying that painting 4 years," he said, his voice barely more than a whisper. "Everyone who's owned it has suffered. Horrible fates. You should leave this place." Sophia wanted to dismiss his words, but the fear in his eyes was palpable. And when he abruptly left without another word, she felt a growing sense of dread creeping into her thoughts. The nightmares started that night. Sophia found herself in a dark room, surrounded by paintings that seemed to shift and move in the shadows. And always, in the center, was Evangeline, her eyes glinting with malice. Sophia tried to escape, but the walls of the gallery closed in on her. Evangeline's voice echoed in the darkness, whispering terrible things, secrets about the people who had died because of the painting. When she woke, her body was drenched in sweat, her heart racing. But the worst part was the feeling that the dream wasn't just a dream. It felt real, like Evangeline had reached out from beyond the grave to pull Sophia into her world. Over the next few days, the gallery staff began to notice strange things happening. Lights flickered, shadows moved when no one was there. And the temperature in the room where Evangeline's portrait hung always seemed to drop several degrees. Then, one of the gallery's curators, Daniel, was found dead. He had fallen from the second-floor balcony, his neck broken. The police ruled it an accident, but Sophia knew better. She had seen Daniel the night before, staring at Evangeline's portrait with a look of terror in his eyes. The painting was claiming its victims. As the days passed, Sophia felt herself slipping into madness. She began hearing Evangeline's voice constantly, whispering in her ear, telling her things she didn't want to know. The painting seemed to come alive, its colors shifting, the woman's eyes growing more intense with each passing day. Sophia avoided sleep as much as she could, terrified of what she would see in her dreams. But even in the waking world, Evangeline's presence was always with her, haunting her every move. Desperate for answers, Sophia contacted a local medium, hoping to make contact with Evangeline's spirit and put an end to the haunting. The medium agreed to hold a séance in the gallery, warning Sophia that it could be dangerous. That night, the gallery was dark and still as the medium called upon Evangeline's spirit. For a moment, nothing happened, but then the air grew cold, and the painting seemed to pulse with energy. Suddenly, the medium gasped, her eyes wide with terror. "She's here," she whispered. "She wants something from you, Sophia. But I can't see what it is." Before the séance could continue, the medium collapsed, her body convulsing as if she were being attacked by an invisible force. Sophia watched in horror as the medium's life was drained from her before her very eyes. After the séance, things only got worse. Sophia's mental state deteriorated rapidly. She could no longer tell the difference between reality and the nightmares that plagued her. Evangeline's voice was a constant presence, and the painting seemed to be drawing her in, deeper and deeper. Sophia began to isolate herself, spending hours in front of the painting, trying to understand what it wanted from her. The gallery staff avoided her, whispering about the curse and the deaths that had occurred since the painting arrived. One night, as Sophia sat in front of the painting, she was suddenly overwhelmed by a flood of images, memories that weren't her own. She saw Evangeline's life, her marriage to the artist, and the torment she had endured. The artist had been abusive, controlling, and had driven Evangeline to madness. In a final act of defiance, Evangeline had cursed the painting with her dying breath, vowing that anyone who possessed it would suffer as she had suffered. Sophia realized with horror that the painting wasn't just haunted, it was a weapon, a tool of revenge that Evangeline had used to punish those who dared to own it. Sophia knew what she had to do. The painting had to be destroyed. But as she tried to set fire to the canvas, the gallery came alive. Shadows writhed on the walls, the temperature dropped to freezing, and Evangeline's voice screamed in fury. Sophia fought through the terror, determined to end the curse once and for all. As the flames licked at the edges of the painting, Evangeline's form twisted and writhed, her face contorted in rage. But just as the painting was about to be consumed, the fire went out, leaving the canvas untouched. Sophia collapsed, defeated, knowing that she could never escape the curse.